Hello, my name is 四明场. Welcome to this exciting series. 大家好，我是四明场，来自英国，也是中国文化的忠实粉丝。我对中国文化的兴趣始于在牛津大学学习古典学，沉浸在古希腊、古罗马灿烂文明的学习中，我也对古老神秘的东方文明产生了浓厚的兴趣。2003年，我来到了中国，并在复旦大学攻读了中国哲学硕士学位。同时，我在上海外语频道工作了很多年，担任过不同类型的节目主持人，为生活在上海的外国朋友介绍中国人如何看待国内和国外的各种问题。Hello everyone, my name is 四明场. I come from the UK and I'm a real fan of Chinese culture. At university, I studied Latin and Greek, and studying the civilizations of ancient Greece and Rome sparked my interest in the mysterious civilization of the East, China. I came to China in 2003 and later studied a master's in Chinese philosophy at Fudan University. I also spent some years working at ICS, Shanghai's international TV channel, hosting programs to introduce Chinese perspectives to foreign audiences. 在中西文化中穿梭，我发现世界对中国仍然知之甚少，而通过讲故事方式能很快建立起大家对中国文化的一种亲近感。于是，我和同事们一起设计了读故事说中国视频课程，帮助更多热爱中国文化的年轻人通过一个个经典的中国故事，学习地道的中国文化表达，借助语言这个交流工具，成为沟通中西文化的使者。In my interactions with China and the West, I've come to realize that the world still has an incredibly limited understanding of China. Telling stories is one way of helping foreigners to have a more intimate understanding of the country. My colleagues and I have designed the Discover China Through Its Stories video course to help more young people who love Chinese civilization to become cultural ambassadors by learning how to talk about Chinese culture bilingually and make use of language as a communication tool. 在这门课程中，每一个故事的学习将通过7个小节课程展现。你会学习到如何用英文和中文朗诵中国故事，通过一些实用的朗诵技巧和发声的技巧，用中英双语将故事讲得更加生动。还会学习到如何概述和精读故事。我们非常专业的讲师将结合故事中的短语、句型，教会大家实用的英文表达以及故事写作方法。听到这里，你可能以为这是一门语言课，当然不是那么简单。中国故事所蕴含的丰富文化，也是我们想重点向大家介绍的内容。我们将邀请中国老师、外国老师从不同的视角对故事进行解读，展现跨文化交流的多样精彩。此外，可爱的老师们还会有时候放大招，通过角色扮演、实地探访等多种形式，让课程学习变得更加有趣。好了，不能剧透太多了，更多精彩期待你们课程中发现。In this course, each story is presented in 7 episodes. You will learn how to recite stories in English and Chinese through studying recitation skills, that is, learning how to make your telling of stories more lively and expressive. You'll also learn both how to summarize and to read stories in greater depth. Our expert instructors will take you through the necessary vocabulary, phrases, words, and sentence patterns in the stories to give you a practical grasp of English expression and story writing skills. Well, you might think that this is just a language course, but it's really not that simple. The culture inherent in these Chinese stories is also an important part of what we want our viewers to get out of the course. We've invited Chinese and foreign teachers to explain these stories from different angles, a showcase of cross-cultural communication. You'll also notice some of our teachers sometimes dressing up and playing different roles, bringing more fun to the learning process. Anyway, I won't divulge too much just here. Just dive into the course and experience it all for yourselves. 今天我们要学习跟梅花有关的王昭君的故事。这一类故事很有必要讲给外国人听，因为他们展示了一种中国传统审美及中国画的写意之美。西方人经常可以看到描绘美画的中国画，但是如果他们不具备跟中国人一样的那种审美语境，就很难被作品吸引。同样，王昭君这个人物也是中国画里的常客，西方人在欣赏这些画的时候，也很有必要掌握中国人的审美语境。王昭君和梅画代表着一种非常典型的中国形象，那就是用外柔内刚的方式把美丽和坚强很好的融合在一起。这里我们可以联想到很多积极正面的中国人物形象，他们中有很多人内心坚强，但是外表并不一定粗犷彪悍。比如很多中国历史当中的很受到尊敬的英雄人物，看起来并不强势，他们往往把自己顽强的意志藏于内心，同时以稳重、礼貌以及儒雅的外在形象来面对世人。好的，接下来我给大家读一下整个英文的文本。Returning home as a plum blossom. The plum blossom, orchid, bamboo and chrysanthemum were called by the ancient Chinese the Four Gentlemen. The plum blossom was especially appreciated. The plum blossom springs in the corner of the wall, a lone bloom in the frosty chill. Seen from afar, I know it is not snow, for a hint of the fragrance to come. These verses were written by the Song dynasty statesman Wang Anshi in praise of plum blossoms. But what are the special characteristics of plum blossoms? A lone bloom in the frosty chill points out the difference between plum blossoms and other flowers. Other flowers bloom only in spring and summer. Only the plum blossom has the hardihood to withstand the bone-piercing cold of winter. In fact, the colder it is, the more luxuriantly the plum blossom blooms and the sturdier its spirit. Legend has it that every flower and every month have an official patron. The official guardian of the plum blossom in January is Wang Zhaojun. As one of the four great beauties of ancient China, her appearance was said to be strikingly like that of the plum blossom. But apart from this, what other similarities were there between Wang Zhaojun and the plum blossom? During the Western Han dynasty, there was constant warfare between the Han and the northern tribe of the Xiongnu. When finally both sides wanted peace between them, the Xiongnu leader Ku Huhanye visited the Han capital Chang'an 3 times to pay his respects to the Emperor Yuan of the Han dynasty and ask for a marriage alliance. This was a political arrangement whereby 2 countries could become related by marriage. Emperor Yuan valued highly such a connection with the Xiongnu and decided to select a palace maid to go and marry the Xiongnu leader. However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place, and all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there, except Wang Zhaojun, who bravely volunteered to marry the Xiongnu chief for the sake of ending her people's suffering. She said, "Finally, the leader of the Xiongnu desires peace with us. Whoever of us is willing to marry him will be a peace envoy." This is the great significance of such a step. I used to think of myself as being no more than a weak woman who would never have the opportunity of serving my country like a man would. Now I have such a splendid opportunity. Emperor Yuan, hearing of her words, thought to himself, the courage of this woman is really deserving of respect. He hurriedly summoned Wang Zhaojun to his throne room. Wang Zhaojun was extremely beautiful, had a lofty character, and was dignified and graceful. She captivated the whole court, from the emperor to his ministers. Moved by both her beauty and her nobility of character, Emperor Yuan gave Wang Zhaojun rich rewards and allowed her to go and marry the leader of the Xiongnu. After she had done so, Wang Zhaojun not only devoted herself to maintaining peace between the Han and the Xiongnu, she also actively introduced the civilization of the Great Plains to the latter. There followed over half a century during which there were no more clashes between the two countries. Wang Zhaojun dedicated all her efforts to peace between the Han and the Xiongnu. Such is the story of Wang Zhaojun. Do you feel that there was a difference between her and the other palace ladies? In order to benefit her country, Wang Zhaojun braved the harsh life of a far-off land, conquering her own fears about leaving home and making a choice the other palace ladies had refused. This was the embodiment of the plum blossom spirit, a noble character, fearless of hardship. The legend goes that after her death, Wang Zhaojun returned to the Han court in the form of a plum blossom. Chinese history contains many accounts of staunch figures as unyielding as plum blossoms. They were the backbones of our people. That is probably the reason why the Chinese people cherish plum blossoms so much. The moral of this story. The sturdiness of the plum blossom in defying the wind's bluster and the snow's oppression has won the Chinese people's admiration. Throughout its history, the Chinese race has produced many figures with plum blossom-like characters. Moreover, many Chinese scholars have borrowed the fine features of the plum blossom to describe their own steadfast and independent spirit. Okay, so you've just heard me reading the whole story from beginning to end. Now, in this next part of the class, we're going to be learning some skills related to recitation. Skills and techniques that will enable you to make your voice more varied, better able to engage with the audience, and better able to bring out the dramatic potential of the story that you're reading. 好了，大家刚刚听我把整个故事的英文版从头到底朗诵了一下。那么在我们课程的这部分，我们要练习一些诵读技巧，然后在这一块我们特别要练习停顿，特别是如何用停顿来提高一个故事的戏剧性，特别是为何在句子中间添加一个停顿，可以提高一个故事的戏剧性。另外，我也会教大家怎么样去强调个别的单词，为了创造一种气氛。好，我们先来听一听我刚才读的那个故事的英文版的其中一个节选。However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place, and all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there, except Wang Zhaojun, who bravely volunteered to marry the Xiongnu chief for the sake of ending her people's suffering. She said, "Finally, the leader of the Xiongnu desires peace with us. Whoever of us is willing to marry him will be a peace envoy." This is the great significance of such a step. I used to think of myself as being no more than a weak woman who would never have the opportunity of serving my country like a man would. Now, I have such a splendid opportunity. Okay, so I want everyone to focus particularly on this first sentence, because it was in this first sentence that I emphasized certain words that are related to the atmosphere of the Xiongnu's realm. 所以我希望大家可以注意到我刚才读的第一句话，在那句话我强调了个别的跟匈奴那个地区的气氛有关的一些单词，比如说 distant， 还有一个更能 给观众引起代入感的一个词，就是 bleak。所以我们强调这两个单词的时候，要让我们的声音变得低一点，变得慢一点。我们要用我们的声音去反映那么偏僻、那么遥远的一个地方。好，你再来，我听一听这句话。However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place. 好，那么在这句话，我还是希望大家注意到另外一点，我在there 这个单词和 except 这个单词中间添加了一个停顿。你再听一听，然后你可以听一听我猜一猜我为什么在这个时候添加了一个停顿。And all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there, except 王昭君。所以你读到 there 的时候，你要给观众一种感觉，你是说完了。这个停顿会让他们觉得他是不是已经说完了？没有人愿意去。然后你停顿了之后，你就突然加一句说，但是有一个人是愿意过去。我们为什么这么做？首先，这个提高这个故事这个部分的一个戏剧性，但是另外，我们王昭君是我们故事的一个主人公，他是最重要的一个人物，而且他在这个故事最主要做的一件事情，就是表示愿意去匈奴的王国。那么所以在这个时刻，我们要特别强调这一点，它是跟任何其他的那些 palace maids 不一样，他的性格、他的决心是跟他们完全不一样。那我现在要2遍读这句话，第一遍我不会添加这个停顿，而第2遍我会再添加这个停顿，大家可以听一听2种读法的不同。However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place, and all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there except Wang Zhaojun. 那这个时候我没有添加一个停顿，你现在再来听一听，我这一次我会再把那个停顿填进去。However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place, and all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there, except Wang Zhaojun. 好，相信大家肯定听得出来这2句话的一个差别。往上看的话，我们可以看到王昭君表示他为什么会愿意去匈奴那个王国，所以在那个时候，我们要用我们的声音去表示他的那种决心，他的那种勇敢。所以整个段落是有明显的气氛和氛围的对立。一开始我们是描述匈奴那种荒凉偏僻的那种感觉，后来我们是表示那么多人不愿意去，然后在那个停顿，那个算是一个转折点。从那个时候，我们就开始把王昭君他的态度、他的性格描述，然后我们的声音也要伴配这个转变。好，我现在来再给大家读整个段落。Now I'm going to be reading the whole excerpt to you again, and I want you to pay attention to the way I emphasize the words, the way I pause, and also the way I've tried to create this contrast between the remote, distant, bleak land of the Xiongnu, the fear of the other maids going there, and then finally contrast that with Wang Zhaojun's brave and persistent and determined character. Okay, let's listen again. However, the distant land of the Xiongnu was a bleak place, and all of the palace maids were reluctant to go there, except Wang Zhaojun, who bravely volunteered to marry the Xiongnu chief for the sake of ending her people's suffering. She said, Finally, the leader of the Xiongnu desires peace with us. Whoever of us is willing to marry him will be a peace envoy. This is the great significance of such a step. I used to think of myself as being no more than a weak woman who would never have the opportunity of serving my country like a man would. Now I have such a splendid opportunity. 希望大家可以不断地练习那个段落，而且练习的时候不仅仅是打上嘟，你也要注意到你如何培养你的英文的抑扬顿挫，如何强调单词，如何停顿，如何用你的声音去反映一个气氛，或者反映一个人物里面的一种态度和性格。Okay, that's it for today's class. Bye for now.